Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of the Boothist Podcast. It's your boy Shay Omasori of Pick Social and Patty. And today we have the wonderful Sharone Reid of Focus and Fabulous Photo Booths.
Are you recording?
Am I recording? Do birds fly?
I mean, it's not showing me that it's recording.
I mean, because you asked me not to record video because your her wasn't there.
Okay, got it.
So this is all audio right now. But we can
wonderful.
see each other.
Yes.
Yeah. Do I look good? How's my hair look?
What hair?
Man, the disrespect. I lost my hair at like 20. What was that? I was like 20 something. That was tough to be 20.
Did you lose it all at the same time? Like, did you lose it at a nice area that you could kind of disguise it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I had the George Jefferson going, and I was a club DJ at the time. So, you know,
lots of hats.
I was in the streets, yes. Oh, I stayed with the New York fitted. Actually, I stayed with the SD fitted for San Diego. But, you know, for me, the SD was
Shay
just shit. Yo, tell the people one more time. But hey, listen, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you, young lady. So today, folks, we have Sharone Reid of Focus and Fabulous. Sharone, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful.
You're wonderful. You're in your new spot too. You just moved out of moved into a new location. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sharone, for the people in the back, go ahead and let them know who you are and where you are from.
I am Sharone Reid, the owner of Focus and Fabulous Events, where our focus is to make your events fabulous. I am from Richmond, Virginia, by way of New York City. I've been in the business for almost 9 years.
Yo, we got a lot of OGs in the photo booth business.
OGs.
How did you get into the photo booth business in general?
I saw a photo booth. I was at an inauguration party for Obama, and this room had a green screen photo booth where you could take a picture with Obama or Biden. This is, I think, the first inauguration. It might have been the second, but I think it was the second inauguration. And then they had, remember the vanity booth? It was all white, and you could go inside and sit down. It was really cute. It had a little display on the outside. So I did both of those booths, and I kept coming back until the line got super long. And I was like, oh, well, I guess my time is over. But I remember having a conversation with the owner and asking him, you know, like how he got into the business. And he was like, well, me and my wife decided to start a business together so that we can spend more time on the weekends. And it ended up being a family full-time business. I decided I had gotten into some money. My aunt passed away suddenly in 2012 and left me her retirement. She was a teacher. And I said, well, what would she want me to do with this money? And I decided to use it for the photo booth.
So what did you go buy? Did you go get the vanity booth? What did you get into?
So I tried to find those people again. I did not. I did find their website, but I had a friend who was into the DJ event planning as also event rentals. And I asked them about photo boothing. And they were like, no, something we looked at, but not really ready to put any capital towards it. But, you know, we can assist you. We can help you. Let's go to the DJ Expo in Atlantic City. So we went to the DJ Expo, and they had maybe seven photo booth vendors there at the time. This is 2013. Yeah, August 2013. And they had a website up. You know how Photo Booth Expo has the website, all the vendors is going to be there. So I clicked on open air photo booth, went to the website. I used to dream about that website. I'm going to get me an open air photo booth. Got there, went straight, knew exactly where their booth was, went straight to the booth. And then he started asking me buying questions. And I was like, I don't know the answer to that. But then I started to walk around, and I saw there were other booths that come in different sizes, shapes, had different softwares, could do different things. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not ready yet. So I took all that information, went back to my room, spread it out on my bed, wrote pros and cons about each of them. And when I went back, I went to iClick, and they had everything I wanted. The booth did everything I wanted to do. It was beautiful. It was sleek. It was sexy. It was what I wanted my brand to be. They were very helpful, and I bought my first booth.
So for those not familiar with the iClick was probably the most unique photo booth at that time for the generation of the photo booths that we had out there. That a lot of photo booths now take inspiration from. And so what was it about that booth that made you get it? Can you describe why that booth over the other booths that were there?
Well, one of the questions that Open Air asked me was, did I want the guests when they use my booth to be able to stand up or sit down? And I didn't know that was a question. Like, what? So with iClick, they had that tilt. Remember, I don't know if it was patent, but they were the only one that had the tilt head. And so I didn't have to choose. I could have people stand up and people sit down. And so that was one of the reasons that took me over to iClick. But it was also, that thing looked heavy. That Open Air was the road case style. And I watched him put it together and take it apart. Because I was like, well, what does that mean? He said, oh, well, you would get this part and then you would do, it was just way too much. So the equipment was a lot heavier. And then it just looked more modern. Like you said, at that time, they were just like different. Like it just looked different. Everybody else had either a road case style or they had the little, I used to call it the circus tent. They had the circus tent style photo booth.
Like you said, open hair photo booth had that road case style. So it looked like the case that you would pack all your DJ equipment from, which I think was probably the original inspiration from it. But shout outs to, I believe the owner of that company's name is Nick,
somebody.
Yeah. So shout outs to him. He's definitely a pioneer in his own right.
Definitely.
With the booths that he brought out. And we all call photo booths Open Air as a result of his naming. So you went ahead and bought that, and so that was the DSLR booth, right? There were no iPads at that time.
No, there was no iPads. We didn't even think about iPad booths back then. It was a tilt. They had their own. I don't know what they created themselves, but they had this software that would allow you to draw on a picture afterwards or create a slideshow. And I thought that was unique because none of the other ones did it. It just took a picture and it printed and move on with life. So I thought that being able to share to social media from a separate kiosk was, phenomenal because I didn't want to hold up my line where all the other ones you had to share it from the screen.
So you got into the business with your iClick photo booth. And from there, what did you do? How'd you get your first customers?
So I ended up getting the turnkey. So I had everything I needed. And like I said, the person that introduced me to the DJ Expo was also in the event industry. So his thing was, get the booth. I'll learn it. I'll teach you how to do it. And you be part of our business. We'll start adding on photo booths to our packages. Well, they had other connections with bigger event companies within New York and New Jersey. Mind you, I was living in New York at this time. And they would hire me to do events for the company. I didn't know that was white labeling. So I would show up. I had a banner that said "Focus and Fabulous." They was like, you got to take that down. This is called white labeling. I was like, oh, okay. So they would book it for who knows how much, but I set on a price. So every time I did an event, it was $600, no matter how long it was, no matter where it was, no matter, they were getting prints. It didn't matter. It was $600. And I did that for about a year. And it really helped me learn the business. So I trained under people that were in the event industry. They weren't photo boothers, but they knew how to run a business in the event industry. And I did not know that. I learned how to use my booth, lighting. I learned how to take pictures outside. I learned how to work outside. I also learned what I didn't want, like how I don't like weddings.
What is it about weddings that you learned you didn't like in that first year?
It's just a lot. I mean, you're dealing with brides. It's a different experience. It's longer. It's drawn out sometimes from the booking process, from the time of booking until the actual wedding. So it's a lot of time for somebody to change their mind and this and that. Whereas somebody calling for a birthday party, it's within a few weeks. It's not as much pressure, right? Because I think, all events are pressure. Like we end up being at people's most amazing moments, cherished moments in their life, their wedding, their baby shower, anniversaries. So we're at some times that mean the most to them. It may not mean the most to us, but it means the most to them. And so that is a lot of pressure to make sure that you, one, deliver a great product, people have fun, and they refer you.
So what you didn't like about the weddings part of the industry was just the pressure to perform?
Not the pressure to perform. It was just a longer process. I don't want to call all my clients that were getting married bridezillas, but it were a lot of them. And then also just, you get tired of going to weddings. Okay, now we're going to cut the cake. Now they got to do the dance. It's a lot of idle time. It's just not as much fun as, I say, birthday parties, sweet 16s. To me, it's not as much fun.
So in that first year of you running your photo booth business, you learned that you didn't like weddings. What was the biggest takeaway that you got from your first year about the photo booth industry?
That it was so a need. Like, I felt like people at that time didn't know photo booths could be anywhere other than weddings. So when I would show up at other events, they were more excited because they hadn't seen one before. Whereas when I was at weddings, it was kind of, at that time, it was kind of just more expected to be there. So just the energy I would get from being around different people. I got to travel. I, again, got to go to really, really great, beautiful events. And so it was just fun. I just had a lot of fun.
When and how did you decide to break out?
I ended up moving. I moved to Virginia. And so I had to do it by myself. So I just took what I learned. I still went back and forth for another 2 years doing whatever events they had, plus events, because at that time, then I started to feel comfortable to build my own network of people to do events for, event planners and such. Instagram came out. I was one of the first people to adopt to Instagram, and I really grew my business on Instagram. Like, I was getting calls left and right. Oh, I saw you on Instagram. I saw you on Instagram. And so my business started to grow on its own organically through Instagram. And then, of course, referrals, just being out there. You know, every event, that's opportunity for more events. And so just being out there more, I got the confidence to kind of go ahead, build my own packages and start push, because I didn't push my brand. I just was waiting for the phone call, like, hey, we got something on Saturday. Oh, okay. And so this is what I would do. But now I'm out there promoting it. I would stay up all night, because that's when you can get work done at night when nobody's bothering you. Calling people. I would get on Eventbrite, find events like, hey, have you heard of a photo booth? Do you want one? I would spend hours upon hours just pushing my brand, because I wasn't doing it before.
So you got into grind mode. But hold on,
yeah.
Before we even get into the grind mode, I want to ask you about your IG strategy when you first launched, right? I'm sure that the IG strategy is a lot different now, but
it is different.
What were you doing when you first started on IG that was really getting you that push?
Posting pictures of my booth, posting pictures of my prints. So it was just really just being very active. The other thing I was doing was finding people that were in the industry and reaching out to them and talking to them within their inbox, just finding more inspiration from what they were doing. And that's basically it. And that alone just really got me out there.
Tell me, what were you doing on Eventbrite that was getting you business?
So on Eventbrite, I would find cities and I would put in the different types of events that I want to go to, whether it was, you could put in party or any kind of entertainment. And I would contact the organizer. Sometimes they have information there and you can reach out to them there. But then also sometimes you have to dig a little deeper and find them on Facebook and then reach out to them there. So I would find out who was having the event, who was organizing it, and if they had already secured a photo booth. A lot of them didn't know what it was, hadn't secured it. Again, I was new, so I was just trying to get out there, do some exposure events. I remember the first exposure event I did was at Howard University. I was talking to a classmate who was running the homecoming, and she offered to give me a space at Howard Homecoming. That was actually my first real outside event, since we're talking about how I get my first events. I, of course, use my networking skills, and I talked to her, and normally Howard University is very expensive to vend, to set up your business and have it there. So she didn't charge me anything. I was in the booth with the school's bookstore, and we did 2 full days outside at Howard Homecoming. My friend that got me into the business came down to help me, and it was a mess. I didn't know nothing about nothing. We didn't know nothing about no lighting. I look back at those pictures now. They were so horrible. They were, unfocused, dark, cloudy. It was just terrible.
Did you know at the time that they were terrible?
No, I thought they were the best thing since sliced bread. I am on my first job to be on the campus where I graduated from. I was having fun. It was wonderful, but it was terrible. And it was long. I mean, we were there like 5 a.m. to like 8 p.m. both days. I learned a lot. I don't want to do all day events. Not like that anyway. You'd have to have some staff, but I didn't. It was just me and him. We would just take turns. That was it.
So you said that was an exposure event, right?
I call it exposure because I didn't get paid. I guess they sponsored the photo booth for that event. I didn't have to pay to be there where other people had to pay to be there.
So a lot of people talk about not doing events for exposure. Why did you decide to do that event for exposure?
Well, it was Howard Homecoming.
So you was there for the party.
Yeah, I'm using it, 1, for the party, 2, for the experience at that time, and 3, because it was exposure. I did get business from that. I still run into people like, oh, you're the photo booth girl from the homecoming time that time. What? Why do you remember that? I still got the picture on my refrigerator. I know friends now who have the picture as their profile on Facebook today, and that was 2013.
So when you're doing events like that for exposure, how do you make that translate to long term?
At that point, I didn't know. Now I do. I think you really need to inquire with who you're working with. Does their demographics match up with who you want to do business with? And so at that point, yes, if you went to Howard, you're in my network. So that was, oh, you went here too? I would say that when they would come to me like, oh, I would talk to them. I would tell them this is my business. And so then they would take my information. So you're building a connection. So you have to find out what's in it for you. And is it worth your time? Maybe I shouldn't have done it for 2 days. Maybe I should have said, yeah, I can do it, but I can only do it 1 day. So it just has to make sense. And those things you learn as you go. My second exposure event, I tried to step it up, and I did it for a radio station. A lot of cities have like a Circle of Sisters or some kind of women empowerment event where they bring in celebrities to sing or to host. It's a vendor event, so people are showing up to vend. So what I did was, okay, I'm going to step it up. I'm going to really maximize this experience. Again, they gave me the space for free. They put me right next to the main stage. So everybody had to walk past this photo booth. So what I did was I ordered a step and repeat, and I sold spots on the step and repeat to small businesses that would not have had the money to be a vendor there, but they could put their logo on. I would take pictures. And at that time, I thought I knew how to work that social media kiosk where I was going to have people put in their phone numbers and emails and all that. Yeah, didn't know how to do that. I was like, I'm going to give you all the names and emails of everybody that used my booth. This is, of course, before Pick Social. This is how we met, right? Because this event. It was so horrible. I had somebody stand there and write down people's names
Wow.
and emails because the people had paid me to deliver this after. And then I had to put that in an Excel file. It was terrible.
For clarification, you were trying to capture names and email addresses, but whatever system you were using at that time was not working, and you were not using Pick Social at this particular event.
I didn't even know you existed.
All right, go ahead though. Tell me more. I want to hear more.
I charged for prints. So we made money when people could take a picture for free. But if they wanted the printout, they had to pay. I don't even know how much it was. Maybe $1, $5. And now I am totally against pay for print. No way, no how. You don't get what you want out of it. People, when they hear free, they come running in droves. You got to pay. Oh, well, let me see how you take that. Oh, okay, I'll be back. It's too much. It's a decision. So the line was long, though. Everybody wanted to take a picture all day. I worked hard. It was a long 8 hours. I couldn't even tell you how many pictures I took. I know I took a lot. The writing was a mess. I could hardly even read a lot of the names and emails. So that was a mess. The backdrop looked good. The backdrop looked real good. I got an interview. A girl came by and interviewed me for, you ever heard of Mocha Moms? So she interviewed me for that. I had another lady come by and talk to me about what we would now say is a corporate event. I had no idea that's what she was saying, but she had seen my booth. This is why you pick your vendors. She said, I know this booth. The person we use at Essence has this booth. She was talking about OMG photo booth.
Shout outs to Mo's.
She was like, yeah, we use this booth and they come and they set it up at Essence for us and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, okay. But I had no idea what she was talking about. So I met her there and she was friends with a friend that I know. So it's all about networking and connections. I never took Moses' business. No way, no how. But it was just interesting to me that people recognized the booth. And then that led into a conversation of people that we know. I don't even think I knew Mose at that time. I think I just idolized the website and knew of him, but I didn't know him at that point. But yeah.
So you were building your business in the early days by doing exposure events, but strategically doing events that had the type of clientele that you wanted to attract.
Exactly. Exactly. Or a venue I wanted to be in or somewhere I wanted to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were the biggest issues that you had building your business in these first, early days of you being out on your own at that point?
Just not knowing a lot. Like I did not come from photography. So that was something I had to learn. I knew what if a picture looked good. Yeah. But as far as lighting and knowing how to make something sharper or better, those are things that I kind of learned on the job. Pricing.
But wait. In terms of the photography piece of it, right? You said yourself that those pictures that you took in the early days were trash. When did you realize that they were trash? Did somebody say, hey, did somebody put it to the side? When were you like, hey, let me step this up?
Photo Booth Expo.
Okay. So what was it about Photo Booth Expo that kind of showed you that you could do
I tell people all the time, Photo Booth Expo changed my life, my business for sure, but it did a whole 180. Like I got there and got to see real work. I didn't look at other people's because there wasn't many other people to look at. In my city, I was one of the only photo booths. If I didn't do the photo booth, I know who did. You know what I mean? Like personally knew who did. So the calls were crazy. What I thought were crazy. The calls were crazy, but it's okay because now we have so many more photo booths, but we have so many more people that want them in so many different places. So like I said, back then, it was just like weddings, for me anyway. I didn't realize it could be used for marketing. I didn't realize you could take it to so many different places, movie openings. And so the Photo Booth Expo broadened my horizons because I got to see how people use their business in different ways. I got to talk with my manufacturer. I didn't use the flash until Photo Booth Expo 2015. I was like, how do you even put that? And what is it? And then I got so much education that first expo that it was just changed my whole business.
Was there like a particular moment at Photo Booth Expo when the light bulb went on and you were like, oh, wow, this is way bigger than what I thought it was?
Just going into the room and seeing a sea of people that we all do the same things. I think that was the aha moment. And I was like, oh, this is opportunity. I need to talk to as many people as possible to find out things that I'm doing or what they're doing or how do they promote their business. We had those master classes. Those master classes were amazing. Learned a lot in there. And that's it. I think it was just wonderful.
So right now, I think your main focus in your business is working primarily with event planners. Is that correct?
They are a piece of the puzzle. I want to work with more so meeting planners, event planners, and marketing agencies. Those are my top 3 that I want to work with all the time.
But your top is meeting planners?
Yes.
Okay. And when did that shift happen for you?
Probably after I started doing trade shows. I got introduced to people at the expo. We connected on different things. You either connected on the software you were using or you connected on your booth. So all of us iClickers connected. And so the thing was, if you had iClick, well, if I have a job in your city, I could use you. And so I started white labeling. I white labeled for Andrew. And that was the first time I ever did a trade show like that for multiple days. And I was like, this is it. This is what I'd like to do. It's during the week. It's fun. It's engaging. You get to meet different people. Like this is what I want to do.
For those who don't know Andrew is the owner and operator of Boogie Booths out in New Orleans. But tell me about that event that you did with Andrew.
So every year in Washington, D.C., they have what they call the Congressional Black Caucus. And if you live in the area, it's like Mardi Gras to New Orleans. Every Black Congress, Senate, anybody in politics comes to Washington, D.C. Of course, they have work, they meet and all that kind of stuff. But at night, turn up time. Like it's party central. Parties everywhere, right? So I would go every single year as just a regular person going to the parties. But this was my first time that I was asked to do the convention and be on the trade show floor doing the photo booth. And I think I was the only photo booth there. I know I was the only photo booth there. And so he did everything. He set me up. We worked the event and of course had fun at night, but no, we worked the event. And so I did a good job. And so every year, if it wasn't that event, any event that he had in DC, he would call me and ask me to do it. And so that's how I built that relationship. But I also was open to the idea of doing conventions and trying to figure out, well, how do I work with people to do conventions? And so I started looking into associations. And DC is where most associations have their headquarters. So I was in the right neighborhood, that's for sure, to meet these people. Then I started finding different organizations where meeting planners. And so I started going to networking events where I could meet meeting planners.
That's pretty tight. And I mean, that goes hand in hand with, I think, what you've kind of put out for yourself is how you've been building your business is through networking and relationships. I think that's kind of been the key for you. So going to those networking event with meeting planners, that was a big part of your strategy on getting more and more of those, I guess, conferences that were going on.
Yeah.
Was that a straightforward process? I mean, I can't imagine it was just that easy.
No, I didn't know what I was doing. So I attacked it just, I did parties. I would just call them and give them my information. I had a website. I would send them my website. I didn't know you needed more. I didn't know you needed, what they call it at that time, a one pager. So at the photo booth expo, Frances Foreman, do you remember Frances? She did a masterclass on going corporate, and she shared information with us, not gallery. What's the word I'm looking for? Like words you should use, words you should know if you're trying to go after corporate. So she went through all that. And when you don't know you're ready until you have XYZ. And so I was like, "Ooh, I ain't ready." But I took that and I gradually started to build myself up. Meanwhile, I'm still working. Like I'm still doing birthday parties and anniversaries and sweet 16s. And so those things, it just started to kind of form what I am now, So a lot of trial and error.
What would you say was the biggest error that you've had along with these trials and errors?
Pricing in the beginning, just not knowing my worth and what I was doing meant so much more to corporate, and I didn't look at it because it doesn't mean the same to social events.
Okay. So obviously you don't know what you don't know, especially when you're first starting out. How did you find out that, I guess, your pricing could have been a lot better?
Photo booth network. Back then, people opened up a little bit more. Of course, I used my network, talked to people. I did have friends that I could ask questions to. And I was like, "Hey, I see you had a photo booth at your company so-and-so. What's the name of the company?" Went to their website, saw what their pricing was. Oh, I even had, can I say this? This is weird. If I won't get anybody in trouble. I had a company I used to work for, and she wanted to use me. And she said, "Hey, Sharone, we hire the same company every year for our holiday party. I'm going to put your name in the hat this year. But what do you charge?" So I told her, and she was like, "No, you need to charge more." She said, "I'm going to send you their quote, and you come just underneath it." I was like, "Oh, okay." I still didn't get the job. It was the relationship the owner had with that company that they would go get that job no matter what. So I didn't get that job, but it taught me a lot. Why? Because she shared the quote with me. So I saw all the things that they put on their quote to make them looked their value. And these are all things I do, but I didn't verbalize it or I didn't put it in writing. And my pictures look better. But anyway.
So what is the biggest thing that you learned from that? What is the biggest thing that you learned from that quote, other than the fact that they're charging more? Is it that they were itemizing everything? What did you get from it?
They showed the perceived value. It was, just even saying set up early. I set up early every time I do an event, but I don't say it. I just do it. So just really writing down what sets you apart. What do you do differently? The number of attendants you have, from coming dressed, from doing site visits, from just things that you know you need to do to make the event successful for you and for your client. Verbalize it. That you have a system. I think that makes a difference. I know now that I use systems like 17 Hats. When I work with people that don't, I'm like, "Y'all need to get it together. You sending me a Word document? This ain't a contract. How you want me to pay? Cash App? What?"
So those early mistakes that you yourself was making when you first started with your photo booth company, what are some of those mistakes that you see new people coming into the industry and doing?
eventually you're going to have to spend some money in your business. And so I find a lot of, that costs too much, or it's a DIY way to do it, or spending time doing things that you don't have to do. I ran into a lady, she's in the industry, and we talked about this. And she's like, I'm quitting. I don't want to do it anymore. And I said, why? She was like, I just can't figure out how to make an overlay. Then don't.
Yeah.
Let someone else make an overlay.
Yeah.
You're going to quit the business because you don't know how to make an overlay? When you can't do something, find somebody else that can, because what you can do can make you more money. What you're confident in doing, that's what makes you your money. So focus on that, and the stuff that you don't know or is going to take you time or time away from things that are going to make you money, let somebody else do it.
So what were some of those things that you were doing yourself at the beginning that you maybe should have paid somebody else to do that, but you took the time to do that was maybe not the best use of your time?
I didn't have the system I was using. Things were all over the place. I had a Word document. I had Excel files. I was using PayPal at the time. So that's how I would generate my workflow in Google Calendar. And Navy out of Dallas, I think she's in Dallas, she was like, you need a system. And she's the one who turned me on to 17 Hats. She said, this will be good for you. It was another one out there. She's like, that might be a little too difficult. But this one, it's going to be really user-friendly for you. And I think you should use this. And I love it, right? Just finding little ways to make my day quicker. When I found Pick Social, that made my life a lot easier. I didn't have to write down with a pen and paper names and emails of everybody that used my photo booth.
Oh man, that is painful. Go ahead and write your name and email address on this little sheet, and I might transcribe it later.
Yeah, and then I might call you and stuff, right? I might email you if I can read your email. But just those things, and using what I was spending money on as tools for my business. So I definitely use Pick Social as a way to follow up with people that use my booth. Just makes me look more professional. Oh my God, I can send it. How do I get the pictures? Just text it.
Yeah.
Right. It goes to my phone. Look, they'll come back and I like when they come back and show you. Look, it's here.
Like I know, I set it up. What else do you see? What other newbie mistakes do you see that some of these folks are making? I mean, especially since you're doing this coaching stuff now. Like, what do you hear when you're talking to some folks?
I think they're better off than I was. We had a sense of community, but everything is so laid out now. Like there's solutions we did have a lot of, I DIY'd because there was nothing else to do. Okay. There was no check cherry and there just wasn't. And so you had to kind of figure it out. But I think sometimes the new people they're a little spoiled. Oh, you don't hand this to me? Oh, you ain't going to just tell me? No, you got to work for some things.
Tell me about that. Where do you see the spoiledness coming from? Like, how do you see it manifest?
I don't know. I think it comes from.
No, not where does it come from, but give me an example of the spoiledness that you see.
I don't think that manufacturers went after us this heavy. First of all, we didn't have as many. So you weren't fighting for business, right? Because you were the only one to go to. So they're coming after us more. And so they're competing against themselves to get to us first. And there's just a lot. And so when people are giving you a lot, they expect a lot from everybody. And instead of working harder, or they treat us, the veterans, like they treat the manufacturers. Give me. Show me what you do. Show me this, show me that. Now, it could be that we were like that too. I just don't remember us being like that. Yeah. But I think we all learned together. Because when I came in, there were people that were veterans, but you didn't really know them. And they were real DIYers. They were like, yeah, I went out in the shed and...
the shed.
I built this thing, like if you were a veteran, you were a veteran. Like you built a photo booth. Like the stuff they did, I don't ever want to do that. Whereas now, what vendor do you use? What software do you use? What they want you to lay it out. And to me, I looked at it more as, what do I want to be? What do I want my brand to be? How do I want my experience for my customers to be? Not, I like what she do, give me that. Because your client may not like what I do. And you may not like what I do once you start doing it.
So you got to like find your own, I guess, photo booth identity is what it sounds like.
Yes, you have to build a brand. And they don't want to. They want to just take yours.
Got it.
I like what that color.
Give it that color, that icon, that logo.
Yeah, they just want to be
Copy and
us,
paste.
but they don't want to be them.
Yeah.
Until they run into trouble, you know. So.
And what type of trouble do you see some of these folks run into?
Stealing people's videos and pictures, you know, not being able to deliver, you know, saying they can do it. And then they get out there and it looks a hot mess.
What do you mean by that? Tell me more.
We can talk about 360s. I mean, it's such a vast difference in what the output could look like. And you have to decide what you want your output to look like. And it's a lot of trial and error. So you may see an Orca View video and then you go and get, am I supposed to say names like this?
You could say Orca View. Yeah, we could say that. Yeah. Shout out to Bill. Shout out to Daniel Rosenberry. Bill, hey. Let me hit an ear horn for my homies. Wait. That's not an ear horn, right? No, okay. Here we go. All right.
So you may see one of their videos that they did for a marketing company, but then you don't want to spend the time, money, and energy to learn how to get to that level. So you buy the cheapest, you spend the less, and then you wonder why your videos don't look like that. Or you sold it to somebody, like you sent their video and then you show up with the less. And then they're not going to complain to you. They're going to complain to me. Yeah, they're going to complain to me. I had a client come and tell me, I didn't realize you had a 360 yet. I hired somebody else and they did a horrible job. Oh, what did they do? Well, they showed up late. I said, okay. And she knows I show up on time, before time. So they showed up late. She said it was in my home. They, I guess, went to swing their arm because it was manual and hit her wall, put a big gash in her wall, didn't tell her, just packed up and left.
Wow.
No one got videos. There was no overlay. There was no outro, intro music, all the things that she saw in the marketing.
Wow.
Didn't happen. And she's like, and I still didn't get a gallery. So Sharone, next time I'm going to hire you. But you see how she told me? Now, I don't know if she told her, but a lot of people will not tell you. They'll tell the next person they hire. Well, I hope you're better than the last person they had here.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you had to give some advice to, you know, anyone jumping into the photo booth industry right now, what would that be?
So I give advice all day. So I decided to do Chit Chat Photo Booth, which is a coaching and consultant business. And I want to help people, you know, I don't want to give it to you. I want to help you find your brand and ways that will work for you in your business. We don't live in the same place. We don't do the same things, you know, so find what makes it work for you. What's going to make you happy? And so the first thing I would say is really do some searching, some soul searching. Don't look at what other people do. Do what makes you happy, right? And what makes you happy will usually make your circle happy. People that you know, people that you network with. And then from there, just start learning. Make sure you're educating yourself, getting on webinars, going to the photo booth expo, just finding ways to see something you like, make it a creative day and sit down and try to learn it. That's what I would say.
All right. So, Sharone, we've got Chit Chat Photo Booth Facebook group, right?
We have a Facebook group.
That's active. And you guys have webinar Wednesdays. And I think, is there something on Tuesdays or am I making that up? I want to say Taco Tuesdays.
Right now we have Marketing Monday and Webinar Wednesday.
Okay. So tell me about those 2 days and what you guys have going on.
On Marketing Mondays, I just put a tip. I find a tip somewhere. It doesn't even have to be within our industry, just something that you could use. And I try to relate it to photo boothing. I think this week was talking about like content marketing and, starting a blog about, the problem in our industry. So a lot of times people will call you and say, or that's what happened when I would reach out to those people that were already having events. They were like, oh, no, we already have a photographer. And I'm like, but I'm not a photographer. And I'd have to explain, right? Go into my explain mode of what's the difference between a photographer and hiring a photo booth. And so I said, try doing that as a blog and educating
content marketing.
People. Yeah. And then Webinar Wednesdays, we center it around the six-figure photo boother.
Yeah.
And so I just talk about things that six-figure photo boothers do every day.
Yeah. And give me some of those things that they do.
Well, we talked about white labeling on one of the episodes. We talked about networking, going to networking events and who you should network with. This week, we were supposed to have our Webinar Wednesday, but I had a family event come up. My son is graduating from the Virginia State University. No sound.
Shout out to Aaron, man.
Shout out to Aaron. But we are going to return next week with the episode we were supposed to do, which is how to scale and grow your business through social media groups. And we're going to have Dave Stevenson, the founder of Photo Booth Network,
shout out to Dave,
on the webinar with us because he should know better than anybody else.
I have a networking question for you. Mm-hmm. How do you network if you hate people? What's your advice for someone who hates people?
Why do you hate people?
How can you
hate people?
It's like, some people who I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to, is it possible?
It is possible.
Can an introvert turn extrovert in order to grow their business? And how do you do it as an introvert? What's your advice for introverts?
Well, if they're doing the photo booth business, they must like it, right? So usually introverts, they're introvert until you talk to them about something that they like or they have a passion for. Yeah. And so I would tell them to focus on that and meet people there, find ways to get into the conversation that way. My son is very introverted unless he's on stage. So people saw that last night. Like when he gets on stage, he comes to life. It's a different person. He's like, Beyonce has, what's her alter ego on stage?
Sasha Fierce.
She's Sasha Fierce. So Aaron has a Sasha Fierce. Everybody knows. You should know that.
You didn't know that. You just asked me what it is.
I just couldn't remember the name. I just couldn't remember the name. You got the music. Okay. But maybe they need to come up with an alter ego within their photo booth business that comes out when they're networking. And so that's what I would suggest for someone who doesn't like people or they don't not like, because nobody doesn't like people, but struggles to have that conversation or be comfortable networking with people. And it should be easier now. Like you can get on alcohol? Social media.
Do you recommend 2 cups of Henny before you show up?
I no longer promote drinking on the job.
Yes.
In the beginning, it was a selling point for my attendants. Like, it's a bar. They usually put us next to it.
Part of the Jehovah.
Yeah, or network where you feel comfortable. So if you feel comfortable around friends and family, maybe you feel comfortable at church, start networking there. And so
Jesus booth.
When I used to do direct marketing, that's another way I've become successful. I started in network marketing, and one of my mentees in network marketing would always tell me, what you do the most, you do the best. So I live by that. So if anything that I feel like I'm not good at, I try to push myself to do more of it because I know it will build more confidence.
That's dope. What you do the most, you do the best. Mm-hmm. So what are you doing the most of these days?
Best at working.
What skill are you trying to improve in right now to grow this business?
When I get some time, I need to learn more about the softwares that I use. Right now, I know enough to go do a job, but I hire out a lot. I do a lot of freelance. I have a lot of people on my tech team. Like if I get in trouble, I got about 5 people I can call, which is a good thing, but they may not always be available. So I know there's things that I've asked too many times that, okay, I need to learn it. If I have to ask you more than 3 times, I need to learn it.
Okay. So the tech side is where you're trying to get stronger at right now.
I'm trying to get stronger on the tech side. Yes.
All right. So as we end this out, Sharone, I want to ask you, if you were to start this photo booth journey all over again and you've got $10,000 in your pocket, how do you spend it? What type of booth do you buy? And then how do you spend the rest of the money?
In today's world?
In today's world.
$10,000. You know what? I would spend it on, if I'm going to pick a booth, I would definitely pick an iPad booth. Okay. Right now. Today, in today's world. I would start there and build my business because I only have $10,000.
And why would you start with an iPad booth?
Because you can get out there. It has a lot of features that will diversify you quickly and with not a whole lot of technical skills. A lot of the iPad softwares are very user-friendly, and they have come with a lot of marketing, and that will put you out there quick, fast, in a hurry. Okay. And then from there, you can, if you're not coming from this industry, you can learn the industry and even see if it's something you want to stay in without making too much of an investment. Like, I can't turn back at this point.
Yeah, too far.
I'm too far in. Okay. But if I only spent a couple of grand on an iPad booth and, maybe got me a website and, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't feel so bad. But there's so much help on that side of it that I think that's where I would start. And even with the 360, I still get way more photo booth calls than I do 360. Because everybody can be like, oh, I'd get a 360. No, I'd probably just go ahead and get an iPad booth.
Nice. Well, Sharone Reid, thank you very much for joining me here today on the Boothish podcast. For the people who want to get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about you, where can they find you?
Well, of course, Focus and Fabulous Events. But if you want to talk to me about the industry or, what you're doing with your photo boothing, you can definitely join Chit Chat Photo Booth podcast group on Facebook. Okay. And then also you can hit me up at chitchatphotobooth.com.
All right. Thank you, Sharone. Bye.
Adios. Bye.
Oh, man.